Alright, hello, welcome back to Unqualified Analysis, the show that is, you know what, we're here. It's a Thanksgiving week and we are here. We have got the evening coffee in hand, as is tradition. Got to get that energy up after a hectic pre-Thanksgiving work session there. We're done with that, though. Don't have to think about that for another, 24-ish hours to 20. I don't math is hard, man. I'm not in school anymore. I think we'll probably call it good 12 plus 12, so 36 hours or so. That's fine. That's far in the future that I got to worry about that for now. Until then, I mean, it is the time of thanks here, folks. And to celebrate that, I mean, we're going to talk about some NFL football. I mean, it is Thursday. You know what it is. Week 11 in the books. We had a ton of stuff happen. I mean, a ton of stuff, from injuries to big time games to heads firmly on the chopping block, just waiting for the order from the Axeman to have it come down and end the sorry, miserable existence that is their coaching. Quite a vivid metaphor there, but you understand where I'm going there. But that is all to say. We got some stuff to talk about, so let's take a quick sip of coffee. As per usual, when I say sip, I mean gulp. And you know what? I spent so much time procrastinating on starting off this recording that there's basically only one gulp left. So might as well take one more gulp. Finish that off, and we're off and running. First and foremost, not always that Thursday night has the biggest news of the week. So don't always start there. But, conveniently enough, here we are. And of course, on Thursday night was supposed to be one of those games that put some life back in the veins of Al Michaels, to throw people off the scent that Amazon is trying to kill Al Michaels with these terrible games, trying to at the very least snuff out his love for football. Ravens-Bengals, or Bengals-Ravens rather, home team goes second. Don't forget that, kids. Supposed to be a great game. Ended up being an absolute snooze fest, and we had injuries galore in this one. The most notable of which being Joe Burrow. I believe in the second quarter of this game. Oh, excuse me. Not entirely sure what actually happened, but he throws a pass, comes to the sideline and is clearly hurt, tries to grip the football and throw again, just cannot do it. We find out later after the game that he tore a ligament in his wrist. He will be out for the remainder of the season, not coming back, so it'll be Jake Browning from here on out, and did not go well for him in this game. Ravens just beat the hell out of him, 34-20. Ravens didn't come out of this clean either. I mean, Logan Wilson was an assassin of the opposing players, kind of nicked up Lamar Jackson. There was another player he ended up hitting. I think might have given someone a concussion. Most notable of which, though, down in the red zone, did the old hip drop tackle, which those goddamn over litigious assholes are deciding that they're going to try and get rid of that this offseason. Yeah, why not give them flags? Just give them flags. Make it flag football. It's what you greedy sons of bitches want to do anyways for the name of quote-unquote player safety, but that's a different discussion for a different day. Either way, the point of this is Logan Wilson comes down with that quote-unquote hip drop. Disgusting terminology, but we keep it moving. Comes down with that hip drop on Mark Andrews' left ankle, I think it was. Doesn't necessarily matter. The point is, the foot bent out when you really want it to bend in, and the best case scenario for that is a high ankle sprain. Unfortunately, we got the worst case scenario. He broke his ankle. He will also be out for the remainder of the season. A couple devastating losses for both teams in this game. Obviously, Joe Burrow, the bigger of the two losses, and pretty much just tanked the Bengals' season right there. I mean, maybe they pull it together and make a playoff run. They're 5-5 right now, though. It's not exactly like they're far ahead of the pack, and they are in a cutthroat division. At this point, you would assume that the Bengals finish last in the AFC North and probably don't even sniff a playoff spot. If Jake Browning is your starting quarterback, not exactly a recipe for success, especially when the offensive line has been average at best this year. The defense has got some clear holes in it, even with Lou Anarumo scheming the hell out of that thing. They gave up 34 to the Ravens in this game. They've been porous throughout the last several weeks, really. They got a couple good pieces there, but the secondary, losing both of those safeties in free agency last year, I mean, they are bereft of talent on the back end right now. They got a couple good players in there, but it's not going to be enough to carry them for the rest of the season. So yeah, that's probably it for the Bengals. On the Ravens side, though, now Mark Andrews not exactly going to keep them from making the playoffs, may not even keep them from possibly getting the 1 seed. I mean, Kansas City ended up losing this week as well, so I mean, we can't just discount that. We'll get to that really towards the end of the episode here. Best game of the week, by the way, for a variety of reasons, both, I mean, good football and bad football alike. Again, put that to the side. We'll get to it here in a second, but when the Ravens get to the playoffs, which I have no doubt that they will end up doing, not having Mark Andrews in there, not having a legitimate guy that can move the sticks like he has done so well throughout the course of his career, I get it. The Ravens wide receivers are better than they've been in years right now. I mean, Zay Flowers is a revelation out there with his explosive ability. Rashad Bateman has shown flashes, though. I think I'm thinking of something. I got so many notifications on my Twitter right now. I get them all mixed up. So Rashad Bateman, always a possibility to get injured, but not quite so injured at this point that he won't be able to play in the upcoming games. You got Odell Beckham, yada, yada, yada. The bottom line is they need Isaiah Likely to step up if they are going to continue being a championship contender, really. I think not having Mark Andrews in there is going to hurt their offense. Maybe not quite so much in the regular season. Like, I still think you're going to get some explosive performances. Like I said, those wide receivers they have, plus Lamar Jackson, and what Lamar Jackson does for your run game, the great interior offensive line that they have, they're going to win some games down the stretch here. Make no mistake about it, they're still probably an 11, probably pushing 12-win team when it's all said and done, if not even a little bit better than that. They're a fantastic football team. The problem is when you get into the postseason, you start facing really high-quality defenses that can shut down some of those receivers, get you into kind of third and manageables, maybe even like third and longs. Having a guy like Mark Andrews there that can get you 10 yards when you need it it's hard to kind of put into words what the value of that guy is on the team. So, bottom line, Isaiah Likely has not shown that just yet. He was a highly talented guy coming out of college out of Coastal Carolina. He's a really good athlete. Hasn't quite had the opportunities receiving-wise because of how good Mark Andrews is and all that he does for the team. But they're going to need him to be a legitimate receiving threat, a legitimate move-the-sticks type of guy going forward if they are going to be, pushing deep into the playoffs like you want them to if you are a Ravens fan right now. That's a big old wait and see right there. Obviously, like I said, this does not quite just crater the season like the Joe Burrow injury does for the Cincinnati Bengals, but not having Mark Andrews in there is you can't kind of discount how valuable he is to that offense, because he has been, really for years now, kind of the straw that stirs the drink outside of Lamar Jackson. Obviously, everything they do on offense is predicated around the special attributes that Lamar Jackson brings to the table, but having a guy like Mark Andrews in there is worth its weight in gold, quite frankly. So I'm going to be interested to see how Todd Monk and Lamar Jackson work around that, how Isaiah Likely steps up in Mark Andrews' absence, what he does in the receiving game. It's going to be all very crucial. Also, how he does blocking in the run game. Like, obviously, Lamar Jackson raises your floor and your ceiling, for that matter, in that category, but you need him to at least kind of approximate what you get from Mark Andrews in the blocking game as well. Obviously, Isaiah Likely is going to be a much more of a receiver than a blocker, but he's got to be serviceable blocking as well as the receiving part. Questions ahead for the Ravens for sure. Really tough night of injuries in this game. You'll get that sometimes in these AFC North matchups. Brutal loss for the Bengals, though. I can't overstate how brutal that is. I don't think they were going to make a true playoff run this year, but not having Joe Burrow in there, it all but seals their fate. You're really just playing for pride and draft position when it's all said and done, I don't think you're playing for a playoff spot anymore, especially in an AFC that is just absolutely cutthroat at the top of the conference. We move on from there, though. Steelers, Browns. All I got to say is hope you bet that. If you're bet on the Steelers, hope you bet that +4 early in the week when we didn't know the future of Deshaun Watson. Because the Browns ended up pulling this one out 13-10 at home. DTR was, I mean, let's call it what it is. Not good. He wasn't very good at all, but did play well enough behind a defense that has an absolute freak beast in Myles Garrett. And plenty of players to boot outside of Myles Garrett. I mean, it's one of the best, if not the best defense in the entire league right now. And when you have that and you have an effective running game like the Cleveland Browns do, and you got an offensive line that is very strong in the interior like they do, all you got to be is average. Do not shoot the team in the foot, and you're probably going to win a fair amount of games. Now, you would prefer that they score more than 13 points. You would obviously prefer that, you score more in the 20s, maybe even pushing 30 if you are lucky. But when you are playing a team like the Steelers, they'll defend their ass off now. I'll tell you what, 13 points against the Steelers, that's kind of par for the course. They seem to hold teams down like that fairly frequently. Not so much in the yardage categories, not so great in that as they usually are in Pittsburgh. But on the scoreboard, they're still a really solid defense. They've still got the T.J. Watts, Cam Haywards, Joey Porter Jr. stepping up really nicely in his rookie year. Minkah Fitzpatrick on the back. They got players all over the place. So that it is to be expected that a rookie quarterback going up against that defense will score 13 points. On the other side, though, Matt Canada scoring 10 points. Also kind of expected as well against this Cleveland Browns defense. Also very expected for Matt Canada in general, which brings me to the crux of the news here around this game. After this game was over, I believe it was either on Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember exactly which day it was. I think it was Tuesday because I remember a great rejoicing yesterday as I'm recording this from the Steelers fan base. Matt Canada is out as the offensive coordinator. The fans have been calling for it all damn year at this point, and it finally happened. It happened in the middle of the season, which I certainly did not expect. I thought there was definitely no way you could continue with Matt Canada after the season, but to do it mid-season like this was a little bit of a surprise to me. But hey, credit to Mike Tomlin. He saw the writing on the wall, knew that this was not a tenable position to be in, knew that if you wanted to continue making a playoff push in a cutthroat division like the AFC North, you have got to make a change and shake things up. Otherwise, it just simply wasn't going to happen. So Mike Tomlin makes the call. Depending on who you believe and what reports are out there, it was either Mike Tomlin's decision alone, like he said, or, there was some input from a bit over his head, whether that be the owner or the GM or someone like that. Either way, moral of the story, Matt Canada is out. I forget who their play caller is going to be now, but they're going to have one of those situations where they got an offensive coordinator doing the game planning and installed during the week, and then they got a play caller on Sundays. So really at this point, you just hope that they've got someone who can, kind of right the wrongs that Matt Canada had in there. Maybe. I think this really kind of spells that I think Jaylen Warren probably will end up being the lead back. My God, he had 9 carries for 129 yards in this game. He's a more explosive back. He's just a better all-around back than what Najee Harris is. Najee Harris can provide a role for you, but just give Jaylen Warren the backfield at this point. He should be the lead back. Everyone with a working pair of eyes can see that Jaylen Warren should be the lead back in Pittsburgh. I think they probably go forward with him. They probably just do it quietly. Maybe it's closer to 50-50 touches here initially, and then they'll just probably slowly keep ramping up Jaylen Warren as it goes along, but you simply have to have him more involved in the game plan. Obviously, over the middle of the field, they're probably going to be doing a lot more of that. Outside of that, though, I'm interested to see what changes actually do precipitate from this move by the Steelers. I am kind of the belief that doing something like this mid-season doesn't really make that much of a difference in the grand scheme of things. I think you probably change specific things that Mike Tomlin is looking for, as far as like things that Matt Canada wasn't very great at doing, like basically the things I just said, installing Jaylen Warren as the lead back, work in the middle of the field more, maybe getting away from the terrible screen game or improving the screen game. But for the most part, I mean, it's the same offensive staff around Matt Canada. It's the same guys that were already in the building. The offense isn't changing. The plays aren't changing. Maybe just the style of play calling is changing. But I fail to see. I just don't see this offense improving markedly from what it was before. And I mean, granted, over with the Buffalo Bills, Joe Brady just spat in my face with that notion. They absolutely destroyed the Jets. We'll get to that here in just a bit, because there was some news that came out of that as well. But honestly, I think you look at this situation. I don't think Mike Tomlin is selfish enough to think this way himself, but I maintained, really from the start of the season, I haven't really reiterated it much, but it's worth reiterating now. It was either it's not really an either or situation. Like, if Mike Tomlin stuck with Matt Canada and he just stayed loyal to a fault to Matt Canada would have gotten Mike Tomlin fired. And I wholeheartedly believe that. You got to nail this next offensive coordinator hire, and make no mistakes about it. But I think getting rid of Matt Canada shows that Mike Tomlin understood the problem. And he doesn't really, the Steelers in general, I think this might be the first time in the Steelers franchise history that they've made a move at, and I think firing any coordinator during the course of the season. They usually make these moves after the season, if they make them at all, generally. They're a very patient franchise, but it shows you the point that it got to, that they did make this move in season. And I'm interested to see what the Steelers offense looks like going forward. Like I said, I can't imagine it's that much different, but probably different enough to kind of, give them some juice going forward. They got such a good defense that, a lot like the Browns on the other side of the field in this game, they just only have to be average on offense. They've been below average this whole time. All they have to be is average on offense, and they have the weapons to do it. Say what you will about Najee Harris, not a guy that should be the lead back, but if you get into short yardage, he's a guy that can absolutely get you 2 or 3 yards, get you into the end zone when you need him to. George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, Pat Freiermuth, quietly, Darnell Washington, a guy that has not really splashed so much in the passing game, is everything pretty much I expected him to be in the running game. Very solid blocking tight end at the NFL level. It's kind of the niche that he has carved out, with Pat Freiermuth taking a bit more of the passing reps in that situation. But it's not like they're bereft of weapons on this team. It's just a matter of instilling the confidence in Kenny Pickett, using those weapons properly, game planning to get those weapons the ball, and getting them in favorable situations to make plays after the catch. Again, I'm interested to see what the new play calling situation does for the Steelers offense. Like I said, all they have to be is average, and they can still move forward and get a playoff berth when it's all said and done. A good win by the Browns, though, in this one. It's gutsy, especially in the first game after Deshaun Watson is out for the rest of the season. We move forward, though, from here. Got some gas. Got some... Ugh. It's one of those things where you ever had a burp and it's just not coming up? Like it's just sitting there, and if you push you're on that little fine line where if you push too hard, you might reflux up some stomach up there. But if you don't push hard enough, it's just not coming up. I'm in that weird spot right now. Maybe that's just a me thing. Maybe like people that eat healthier don't have that problem, but sometimes I'm just a little fat piggy, so it's just kind of, it is what it is. Either way, let's keep it moving. Bears just cough one up versus the Lions. I believe it was, and I got to check the actual game itself here. What the hell's going on? Retired QB. Okay, cool. Who cares, Adam Schefter? You just took me away from my flow here in this game. Yes. So here it is. The Bears were up with a Cairo Santos field goal. They had a 14-play, 70-yard drive late in the fourth quarter, capped off by a field goal. 8:45 taken off the clock in that drive as well. They took a field goal to put them up 26-14 with 4:15 left in the game. And they lost, by the way, folks. They give up a 32-yard pass touchdown to Jamison Williams. And then with 29 seconds left, David Montgomery runs one in. They get a 2-point conversion. And then on the, well, not the final play of the game, but really the final possession that mattered of the game, Justin Fields drops back. And I guess like a forced fumble by Aiden Hutchinson goes out of bounds out of the back of the end zone. Detroit Lions get a safety. That puts the game out of the reach. You can't even get a field goal to try and tie it, make it go to overtime. So the Detroit Lions just have a hilarious comeback against the Chicago Bears, a famous group of losers that lose another game. Detroit Lions improve to 8-2. They win at 31-26. All I can do right now is one, laugh at the Bears because they're a sad franchise who are going to be losers until the end of time, and that's just kind of the way things are, the way they have been, the way they truly always will be. I mean, what more can I say? They've won more Super Bowls than the Vikings, but you know what? I'll trade that consistent success. I'll take the consistent success over just abject poverty ever since they got rid of Lovie Smith. With the exception of 1 year under Matt Nagy that ultimately ended up working out to their detriment because they held on to Matt Nagy for a couple years too long. But I'll keep this consistent success even without the Super Bowl. Looking at what the Chicago Bears have had over there, I digress on that front. I do think credit is warranted here for Justin Fields because I hope all of you people that sat back and said Tyler Bagent was better than Justin Fields, I hope you all feel as dumb as I know you are because Justin Fields was spectacular in this game, especially early on, and obviously kind of faded down the stretch here. Had that crucial forced fumble from Aiden Hutchinson at the end of the game, obviously, which doesn't help. But 16-23, 169 yards, no interceptions, 1 touchdown, ran for over 100 yards on 18 carries. If you were saying Tyler Bagent was better than Justin Fields, I need you to take a long look in the mirror and ask yourself, do I got a little bit of that schism in me? Just a teensy-weensy bit. Am I just fiending to see a white starting quarterback in Chicago right now? What's wrong with me to where I'm so just thirsty, just utterly, just dying man in the desert thirsty for a white quarterback that I would take a undrafted rookie free agent over a guy that is such an explosive athlete like Justin Fields? And don't get me wrong, Justin Fields has played terribly at times this year, just abjectly awful. But he is not worse than Tyler Bagent. Tyler Bagent is not, he is like maybe half the player of what Justin Fields is, and Justin Fields isn't even particularly that good. So yeah, I'm glad that dumb conversation is over. Doesn't seem like that's a conversation that really permeated in the building, at least not in a serious manner. So, I mean, kudos to them for not being as dumb as some of the fans are. I mean, fans in general, there's a lot of fans out there with some really dumb takes. And by God, you love their passion, but man, they need to shut up sometimes. And this was certainly one of those situations. Bears stink, though. I mean, back to hating the Bears. I mean, give Justin Fields all the credit in the world. Hopefully, I mean, the Bears are going to probably have the number 1 overall pick via the Carolina Panthers when it's all said and done. Or maybe they go on a big old losing streak and they earn it of their own right. Either way, they're going to have 2 top 5 picks in this upcoming draft. Both their own and the Carolina Panthers, just a matter of where they end up falling in the mix there. And Justin Fields will be traded for probably a 2nd-round pick. I don't think he's definitely not going to get a 1st-round pick, but I would say a 2nd-round pick, maybe a late-round pick swap to go with that. Hopefully he ends up at a place that'll utilize his talents properly. I'm thinking, I mean, I would love to see, I mean, this is a popular one going around. I'd love to see Atlanta trade for him. I think that's a good fit, especially with what Arthur Smith wants to do with the running game. Hasn't quite translated to the quarterback run game. I mean, they've had opportunities to do it with Desmond Ridder. Not that Desmond Ridder is as explosive as a running quarterback as Justin Fields is, but I think you add Bijan Robinson to Justin Fields. I mean, you could run the damn wishbone at that point. I think you'd have a damn good offense down there in Atlanta. There's a multitude of places that I would be okay with Justin Fields going to. Just get him out of that sorry situation. And I'm sorry, Caleb Williams, you're going to have to bite the bullet on this one and take one for the team. Unless unless the Bears, look at the maturity issues that you're seeing with Caleb Williams, all the red flags there, and they say, no, we don't want the egotistical, ultra talented guy. We're going to go with the good old white QB and Drake May, which, I mean, I don't want to besmirch the good name of Drake May. He's a hell of a prospect in his own right. I mean, would have been the number one overall pick this last year over both C.J. Stroud, who is fantastic, by the way. We'll get to him in just a minute, and Bryce Young, for that matter. He would have been with the Carolina Panthers this last season if he was in the previous year's draft. So I don't want to besmirch the good name of Drake May, but I could see a reality where the Bears decide to go with Drake May over Caleb Williams when it's obvious that Caleb Williams is probably a better prospect head to toe than he is. So yeah, I just hope Justin Fields lands on his feet. I think he's probably got some growing to do as a leader. I think he's a good kid, though. I think he's, just not been in a good situation with the Chicago Bears. I hope he lands on his feet. I just hope he lands on his feet, not in the division. If the Chicago Bears are stupid, they'll trade him in the division. I just said I spent all this time singing Justin Fields' praises. Don't trade him to the Vikings. I would like to draft a quarterback, quite frankly. I would enjoy bringing in a quarterback, having him sit behind Kirk Cousins for a season, and then rolling with him going forward. I'd like a homegrown guy. I don't need one of those Chicago cast-offs. I think there's a lot of other good destinations for Justin Fields for him to go to, so I hope he goes there. The Bears would be idiotic to trade him in the division unless they really think like just dog shit of Justin Fields, which would be a little bit unwarranted in my opinion. But that never put it past them. The Bears is the Bears, so you never know with those sorts of things. But yeah, Bears stink. Lions, on the other hand, don't stink. They are 8-2. Got a real good shot to get the 1 seed if he can get a Philadelphia loss in there somewhere. Maybe, I mean, at the very worst, I think they're probably the 2 seed in the NFC. That is not to say they do not have some concerns, and the concerns go first and foremost with that defense, because over the last several weeks or so, with the exception of the Raiders game, against the Bears, they give up 26 points. Against the Chargers, they give up 38. Raiders, I think they put that was the nail in the coffin for Josh McDaniels, so that's not really saying much there. They only give up 14, but they give up 38 to the Ravens. They gave up 24 to the Panthers, which is an indictment in and of itself. 20 to the Packers, who had not been playing well. Really, ever since they had those big-time losses in the secondary, like C.J. Gardner-Johnson going out specifically, this defense has not been playing well. They've been playing a lot like the previous year's version of the Detroit Lions. And I think a lot like the Ravens, this is not something that's going to tank them in the regular season. They're a shoo-in for a playoff spot right now. The problem is when they get to the postseason, and assuming that there's really no assumptions here. I mean, they're kind of neck and neck with the Eagles. Obviously, the Eagles have a 1-game advantage over them, being 9-1 at this point. But if they get to the postseason, which they will get to the postseason, and they host a playoff game, which also seems pretty likely. They're kind of running away with the division. Maybe not quite. I mean, they're up 2.5 games, so they're pretty much running away with the division at this point. When they get to the playoffs, obviously in that round 1, they're going to face a lower level opponent. But even so, with the defense struggling like they have been over this last several games, really, there's no guarantee that someone can't come into Detroit and really just give them one and make them kind of, I mean, just shock them, really. Come in there. If you get someone coming in like, say, I don't know, a team that can put up some points on you, like the Seattle Seahawks early on in the year, who, by the way, another poor defensive performance. They lost 37-31 in overtime in that game. If you get a team like the Seahawks in your house, and Geno Smith has another one of those games, everyone's firing on all cylinders, it ends up being an absolute thriller. Who knows what's going to happen there? And even if you get past that first round, you're facing better competition at each level of the playoffs. That's just kind of how this thing works. Duh, what else is new? I just don't know with the holes, the deficiencies on this defense. I would still put them clearly behind both the 49ers and the Eagles at this point, because the Eagles and the 49ers have less questions on that side of the ball. And that, yes, the Eagles have more questions than I think they probably get credit for. But still, even so, they force turnovers, they rush the passer, they stop the run. They do a lot of things that the Detroit Lions have not been doing here recently. So the offense is great. Ben Johnson is awesome. A great offensive coordinator who's going to be a head coach in this league. As soon as next year, I actually would be shocked if he did not get a head coaching job going into next season. But I just don't know in this, with the way their team is constructed in this season, with how kind of even the NFC is for the most part, I just don't see him making a Super Bowl run. Maybe they win a playoff game this year, which is kind of the expectations that the fans have. I think you'd be happy if you get a playoff win this year, but I would temper expectations as far as Detroit Lions going to the Super Bowl. I just don't think they have the horses on defense yet to make that sort of run. They're still probably, and you hope you nail the next offensive coordinator hire. If Dan Campbell gets it right like he did with Ben Johnson, you should be just fine. And I would imagine Dan Campbell has taken note of a lot of the offensive concepts that Ben Johnson uses, the way he coaches up that offense, and will probably translate it into whatever offensive system that comes in next, if Dan Campbell is smart, that is, which I believe he's a smart coach. He kind of plays behind that meathead persona a little bit. Not fooling me. That dude's a smart guy. You don't get to this point getting the Detroit Lions where they are now if you're not a smart guy. I just think they're a year away from the front office, from Dan Campbell, kind of building up the defense a little bit more. They need a little bit more help in the secondary. I think the front seven's actually doing pretty damn well. Maybe add one more guy in there, one more pass rusher. But I mean, I think they did really well on the draft picks on that front seven. Just need to get some guys on the back end, and you should be good as gold, quite frankly. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, we'll see if they resign him this offseason. But, I mean, you got Cam Sutton in the building. You got all sorts of talent. You just got to kind of, bring it together a little bit more. I'm not sure about Detroit Lions this season, though. Like I said, they will still make a playoff spot, probably win a playoff game, but I have a hard time seeing them get past the divisional round, quite frankly, and we'll leave it at that. Man, I really got to start moving. How far am I into this podcast? 30 minutes in, and I've gotten through, three games. My goodness, yeah, we got to hit the turbo drive on this one. Packers beat the Chargers at home 23-20. Jordan Love starting to heat up, man. And, I mean, to be fair, if you're a quarterback, I mean, you're looking for a pickup, no better spot to get one than against the almost said San Diego. Not San Diego, the LA Chargers defense with that defensive guru, Brandon Staley. Atrocious passing defense, and very much illustrated by Jordan Love getting, I believe, his second 300-yard game. It's either his first or his second 300-yard game of his career. He throws for 322, 2 touchdowns, 8.1 yards per attempt, no interceptions. No lost fumbles either. He played very, very well in this game, and he did pretty much everything you asked him to. Ends up winning the game. The Packers are now 4-6. Brandon Staley got a little spicy in the post game. Someone asked him if he was going to relinquish play calling duties on defense. He snapped at him, said, "No, I'm not relinquishing play calling duties, and you can stop asking me because I'm going to keep calling plays." Yeah, that's a dead man walking. Maybe not the deadest of dead men walking in the NFL circles right now, but Brandon Staley, he's done after this season. I think everyone knows it, including Brandon Staley at this point. Just a failed experiment for the LA Chargers. A quote-unquote defensive guru that never had an even serviceable defense as the LA Chargers head coach. Even when Tom Telesco went out and got him all the tools you could possibly ask for. Now, to be fair, J.C. Jackson was maybe the worst investment of all time. Not of all time, but a terrible investment on the outside. Never really hardly played for that defense. His ankle just shattered before he could even come up and do anything with that team. Even so, if you're a quote-unquote defensive guru, like a young quote-unquote genius, a boy genius on the defensive side of the ball, a quarterback who calls defense through the eyes of a quarterback, thinks about the offense from a defensive mind. Did that make any sense? Probably not, but you know what I'm trying to say. For him to come in have that cachet and not do basically anything with the Chargers it's all you need to see. He probably should have been fired after the playoff game last year, and whoever the owner is there, I think it's Spanos. I want to say Spanos is the owner over with the Chargers. Cheap ass son of a bitch. I probably didn't want to pay the buyout, so sunk cost fallacy. You go another year with this old guy here. It's going about how you would expect. All the talent in the world, and just fumble in the bag in crunch time. What else is new? Again, he's going to be done after this season. Hey, maybe you get Bill Belichick in the building. We'll have to see what happens there. Wouldn't read too much into that. I feel like he's probably. I hope Bill Belichick doesn't leave the New England Patriots. Quite frankly, that'd be a sad move on their part. I think we've been over what I think we should do with the New England Patriots at this point. And by the way, don't blame these losses on Justin Herbert, man. I mean, he continues to do everything in his power to win. I mean, 7.2 yards per attempt, which is it's average, but 2 touchdowns. No interceptions, ran for 73, was the leading rusher actually in this game, 73 yards on the ground. Inexplicably got away from the running game in this one when they were getting 6.3 yards per carry. And even if you take out Justin Herbert, their leading back, Austin Eckler, finished the game with a 6.4 yards per carry clip too. So it's not like Justin Herbert was completely inflating the rushing stats, which he did to a certain extent. He did get half of the rushing yards in this game, but kind of inexplicable to get away from the running game too, which falls not on Brandon Staley's shoulders quite so much as Kellen Moore. What else is new there? It's a mess from top to bottom. It's basically Keenan Allen and a bunch of dudes over there. The time is coming soon for the Chargers. The time is coming soon. And hey, Green Bay Packers, I didn't even know they were 4-6, quite frankly. I thought that they were a lot worse than they are. Hey man, maybe they're a little bit frisky down the stretch. Who's to say? Who's to say? I still don't think they make the playoffs. I am still less than convinced of Jordan Love's legitimacy as a starting quarterback. Maybe with this play down the stretch, he's buying himself another year to kind of see what they got in the tank, though. We'll have to see what happens down the back stretch of the season. However, you got to be really worried about this Green Bay Packers running game, though. Jaden Reed was the leading rusher on this team with 46 yards, 3 rushes, 15 yards per attempt. You understand. I mean, A.J. Dillon was the leading running back in this game. He went 14 carries for 29 yards. I mean, just 2 yards in a cloud of dust every time he touched the ball. And that's what you get from A.J. Dillon every week, quite frankly. Aaron Jones, that's the big news coming out of this one, though. He's got a sprained MCL. Won't play on Thursday versus the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving. Going to be probably week to week after that, and wouldn't be shocked if he missed some extended time. Not going to help their run game out at all, which is already struggling. And where do they go from here? Also, Emmanuel Wilson, who contributed in this one, he's on IR, actually. I forget if it was an ankle injury or a knee injury, but he's on IR now with some degree of injury. Same thing with Luke Musgrave, who went out in this one as well. So bodies are dropping over there with the Green Bay Packers. Not going to help them on offense, and the defense, as long as Joe Barry's there, they'll never have a good defense. And I'll say that till the cows come home. He's not a very good defensive coordinator, and I think I'm just kind of echoing the sentiments of basically every Packers fan out there. I don't know how he has stuck around as long as he has. Hey, they're an old school organization with the Green Bay Packers. They do things a little bit differently over there, but I mean, same thing with Mike Tomlin and Matt Canada. At some point, Matt LaFleur's just got to look over at the other side of the ball and be like, you are actively killing me in this job right now. I expect a change to be made after the season, but also with the recent past and everything that's gone in there, wouldn't be shocked at all if they just ran it back once again, because they just enjoy bashing their head into the wall until they realize maybe I should go get a hammer to try and knock this thing down instead. Not sure that's an apt metaphor, but that's a pretty good indication we've wrung about as much juice out of this game as we can. Got to keep it moving from here. We still got to hit that warp speed going forward. We can kind of just breeze through this game. Dolphins get the win 20-13. Like I expected, the Raiders kept it close. They are firmly in that feisty territory since getting rid of Josh McDaniels. Antonio Pierce has adopted a lot more conservative play style, but ultimately a style that gives him a better chance to win, I think. They keep it close, but ultimately Dolphins get the win 20-13. Jalen Ramsey gets 2 critical interceptions of Aiden O'Connell in this game, and of course Tyreek Hill. What else is new? Just a ho-hum, 10 receptions, 146 yards, and a touchdown. Still on pace for over 2,000 yards this season. In a season where there's no great quarterbacks jumping out ahead of the field, Tyreek Hill should be the MVP, flat out. He should be the MVP of the league right now, either him or Myles Garrett on the other side, though a defensive player has not won the MVP since Lawrence Taylor back in the 80s, so Tyreek Hill should be the MVP this year unless someone just emerges down the stretch. It should not be Jalen Hurts like the odds-on favorites are saying right now. It should be Tyreek Hill, quite frankly. It shouldn't just be a quarterback award no matter what. You got to sometimes, when there's a year like this where no one's really jumping out ahead of the pack, there's no Patrick Mahomes just lighting up and dicing up every single defense he comes across. A guy like Tyreek Hill that is doing exactly what I just said to opposing secondaries, striking more fear in opposing secondaries than just about any weapon in recent memory outside of like maybe a Randy Moss, quite frankly. He deserves to have that MVP crown. I'll say it till the cows come home. A lot like the Jaden Daniels campaign in college, if there's any justice in the world, Tyreek Hill will win the MVP this year. Unfortunately, not a whole lot of justice in this world, so I don't have a whole lot of faith in that. But that would be my pick, quite frankly. We'll just keep it moving from there, though. Not a whole lot else to get into with that one. Oh, boy. Commanders are sad. Commanders are sad, folks. The Giants go into Washington, into FedEx Field, that in the postgame did not have hot water, could not fix it until they could shut off all of the water the next day. So players could not shower unless they were trying to get cold-ass winter showers at FedEx Field. The football team matches their sadness. The Giants come in, get a win 31-19. I believe the Commanders turned it over 6 times in this game. Sam Howell had 3 interceptions, got sacked 9 times. The only reason I know that is because I had the Giants defense this week in fantasy football. Well, actually, no. I might be thinking of the Giants. I think the Giants gave up 9 sacks because I had the Commanders defense, and the Giants offensive line was so bad the Commanders defense still got me double-digit points when giving up 31 points in this game. Just a abhorrence, absolute abhorrence. And in the fourth quarter, all the Giants did was just run away with the game. 17-7 they outscored the Commanders in the fourth quarter, put it out of reach. I mean, the Italian stallion himself, Tommy DeVito, lit this one up. I mean, 3 touchdowns, 246 yards, 9.5 yards per attempt, 0 interception. And with how hapless he looked in previous weeks, this is a just stark indictment of the Washington Commanders defense, from personnel to coordination. And not exactly going out on a limb here, but I do believe this was the nail in the coffin for Ron Rivera's tenure as the Washington Commanders host. I think this is another guy that was probably a dead man walking and everyone knew it coming in. But there's no doubt anymore. You can't hold on to Ron Rivera, and there's so little doubt that I think, I mean, they got a game against the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday where they have an opportunity to be just blown off the field. And if they get embarrassed on Thanksgiving, I would not be shocked at all if on Black Friday it became a Black Friday for a different reason with old Ron Rivera. I think if they get beat bad on Thursday, they fire him on Friday. I just don't think his leash is shorter than just about anyone else in the league right now. I know Jay Glazer was saying Frank Reich's seat is hotter than anyone else in the league. Think again, my friend. Think again. That was before this game was played, though, so cut him a little bit of slack. You can't lose by double digits to a team that's maybe the worst in the entire NFL outside of Carolina. You just simply can't do it if you're Washington. This coaching staff is on its last legs. Only one that I think might be able to stick around is Eric Bieniemy, and he will probably end up being named the interim head coach when Ron Rivera eventually gets fired, which I would assume happens sometime during the season. Outside of that, though, not a whole lot to look forward to in this game. Just a sad matchup between two sad teams where the only thing we learned is that Ron Rivera probably not going to make it to the end of the year. We move on to another sad game, though. The Cowboys do exactly what I expect them to do. They go into Carolina and kick the piss out of them. 33-10. Dak Prescott didn't even really need to be good in this game. He was out by the fourth quarter anyways. They had Cooper Rush in the game. And, that's all she wrote. Frank Reich, I think he makes it to the end of the season, but Jake Glazer wasn't exactly off. I mean, David Tepper is the most, probably, maybe not the worst owner necessarily in the league. Probably the least pleasurable to work for, though, quite frankly. I think David Tepper is the most impatient man in the entire league. Is a micromanager in the worst possible way, especially when you're an NFL owner. That's the last thing you want to be. Micromanages, has his fingers in all the pies around the entire facility, and it's led them to a 1-9 start where they're actively ruining Bryce Young's career right out of the gates. It still perplexes me just how bad this Panthers offense is. That the offensive line is just a shell of what I thought it would be coming into the year. The receivers are, about as average to below average. Definitely below average. As I thought they would be coming into the year. Shout out to Adam Thielen. My God, he is dragging the lifeless husk of this receiving core along behind his back. Probably going to get well over 100 catches this year with the pace that he's on this season. Hey, shout out to the former Viking. He's the lone bright spot on this entire team right now. Outside of that, the defense is bad. The offense is somehow worse than the defense. The Panthers, and it's not like you can tank for draft position. They traded up and traded the entire farm away, including DJ Moore, to go get Bryce Young. And with how impatient David Tepper is at the owner, I have no idea how Scott Fitterer has stuck around as long as he has. And I have not been a Scott Fitterer guy for a long time now. I think he's been terrible in the draft. He's gotten bad free agents. He's not been able to build a good team. He put Matt Rule in a bad spot with his bad draft picks. Did he draft Brian Burns? If he did draft Brian Burns, that's pretty much the only draft pick that he truly just nailed it on. And outside of that, what can you look at through the tenure of Scott Fitterer and say, yeah, he absolutely nailed that particular move? I don't think there's a whole lot you can point to, quite frankly. And with how impatient David Tepper is, I'm surprised Scott Fitterer hasn't been fired, and I think that might be the next domino to fall after this season. Unless him and David Tepper are just boys. Unless it's just like he's developed such a good, strong relationship with David Tepper. They've developed their own, gay love affair, whatever it happens to be, to where they're just, having just passionate nights out together, doing, hey, love is love, baby. If you're in love, you stick around with that. Love is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Don't get me wrong, but it should not cloud your judgment when it comes to hiring and firing decisions. And with David Tepper being so ready to pull the trigger on Frank Reich after one season, kind of surprises me that Scott Fitterer doesn't have more heat on his seat, if you will. No need to spend more time on that, though. The Cowboys. We know what the Cowboys are. They're going to destroy bad teams. They're going to struggle against really good teams. It's going to be close against good teams at the very least. We move on from there. Oh boy, Titans stink, man. They're so bad. Jaguars beat the hell out of them 34-14. And it's not like Will Levis looked bad either. I think he was like 13 for 17, 2 touchdowns in this game. Granted, both of those touchdowns came after the Jaguars jumped out to a 27-0 lead. By God, by the end of this game, I was upstairs playing Alan Wake 2, which, by the way, fantastic video game. Should have won Game of the Year if I were the one picking, but I'm not, and I didn't play all the other Games of the Year nominees, so, what do I know? But let's not lose sight of the fact that, Alan Wake is a fantastic game, but that, usually on a football Sunday, I'm usually working, so it's a moot point, but if I'm watching football, I'm not usually going upstairs to play video games in the middle of the game, but when your options are either watch the Cowboys beat the piss out of the Panthers, or watch the Jaguars beat the piss out of the Titans. Video game time, folks. That's what the calculation is for your boy there. But hey, shout out to Jeff Simmons. He scored a touchdown in this game. They ran a trick play down like a bajillion points. So I mean, hey, got a fellow alumni some points in this game though. So hey, shout out to Jeffrey Simmons. Wish you were on a better team so I could root for you more a little bit. But it is what it is. This is kind of what we expected from the Titans coming in. They're, not a good football team. Just not a good football team. Maybe the Jaguars are rounding into shape, but we've said that a couple times now. 7-3 though, so you can't be too discouraged from what you've seen from the Jaguars. Big matchup in the division coming this week against the Texans. And with that, let's just move on to the next game, shall we? Cardinals go into Houston, and they lose one to the Texans. Not for a lack of effort, though. In the second half, defense really came alive. C.J. Stroud looked like he was going to throw for damn near 600 yards in the first half. I mean, he was dicing them up. In the second half, though, throws 3 interceptions, kind of fumbles down the stretch. Not literally fumbles down the stretch, but kind of, doesn't have the greatest performance down the stretch. They ultimately escape with a win, though. Texans get the win 21-16. Cardinals with Kyler Murray, though, they're a legitimately feisty team. They're feistier than you might think. The defense plays better than they have any right being with the bereavement of personnel that they have on that side of the ball. Hey, shout out Jonathan Gannon, man. They doing better than you might have expected. Who the hell is Blake Cashman? I'm just scrolling through the box score right now. Some dude named Blake Cashman for the Houston Texans got 19 tackles, 13 solo tackles, a sack, a tackle for loss, and 2 QB hits, a pass defense. He put the entire team on his back and then just kept it moving. Also, Derek Stingley, by the way, back off of IR, 2 passes defense, top 5 pick the previous year. Shout out to him. Will Anderson, 2 tackles for loss in this game. I mean, all of the moves over the last couple seasons that Nick Caserio has made, especially up top in the first round, are working out gangbusters. I mean, another move in the mid-rounds, Tank Dell, maybe their number 1 receiver right now. He is playing out of his mind. Another big-time game in this one. 8 receptions, 149 yards, and a touchdown. So as far as the Texans are concerned, I mean, C.J. Stroud, had more interceptions in this game than he had all season to this point. Probably more of a credit to the Arizona Cardinals on defense and Jonathan Gannon on defense than it is, a disservice to the Texans or whatever you would call it. But still very much in the MVP conversation, man. If he gets the Houston Texans to the playoffs, he's going to be right in the thick of it when it's all said and done. One of the final, I don't know if they have finalists for MVP. It's not like the Heisman or anything like that. But he's going to be right up there in the conversation if he keeps playing like the way he's playing. It's not like early on in the season where he's dinking and dunking trying to find his way in the NFL. No, they've opened up the offense for him now. And he's got the confidence. He has got the leadership capabilities. I still have no idea how he didn't go number 1 overall. People really talked their way into Bryce Young. I ended up talking myself into it to a certain extent to where I was like, okay, I understand why the Panthers are taking Bryce Young, but I feel like I kind of maintained till the very end. If I had that number 1 overall pick, I'd take C.J. Stroud, and I think I'm being kind of vindicated throughout the course of the season, but neither here nor there on that front. C.J. Stroud is really damn good. The Houston Texans got a big-time matchup coming up this week with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and likely a matchup that ends up deciding the division. I got to make sure. They already played. Texans beat the hell out of the Jags in week 3. This is the last matchup between the Jags and the Texans, and the Texans end out with Broncos, Jets, Titans, Browns, Titans again, and the Colts. So it feels like this game, if the Texans win it, I feel like they have the inside track to win the AFC South and make a run at the playoffs. Even without a win in the AFC South, I think they're going to have a good enough record to get a wild card spot when it's all said and done. So, I mean, what a coaching job by DeMeco Ryans. What a job rebuilding this team by Nick Caserio. What a coordinating job by Bobby Slowick. I couldn't tell you to save my life who the defensive coordinator is for the Houston Texans. I don't remember if DeMeco Ryans is calling the plays or not. Do forgive me on that front. But, I mean, just hats off to the Houston Texans. They're so much better than I even thought they would be. I thought they'd be frisky throughout this season. I didn't think they'd be 6-4 through 10 games, though. They are so much better than I thought they would be. Kudos to them for turning it around in a flash after just a couple of years of abject misery and just paying coaches out the ass to not coach there anymore, which they are still doing. Make no mistake about it. But Hey, got them to where they wanted to be in the end, though. So, hey, good for them. Cardinals on the other side, I mean, they're still terrible. They're still going to end up with a top 10 pick at the very worst. Most likely a top 5 pick being 2-9. I think they're at the number 2 overall pick right now with the, standing all alone at the top. The Chicago Bears, the number 1 overall pick via the Carolina Panthers. One of the worst trades of all time, but I digress on that front. I think Kyler Murray's shown you enough to be like, okay, this is the guy we need to build around going forward. Passing-wise, he was inconsistent, but completed 2/3 of his passes, 7.1 yards per attempt, ran for a touchdown, threw for a touchdown, did get an interception, but I think he's kind of matured. I think having this ACL injury has really upped the maturity, and hard times breed it can. What am I trying to say? I think hard times can kind of, either push you farther in the bad direction you were going, or kind of make you take stock of things and realize that you need to grow in certain areas if you want to be the best that you can be. I think Kyler Murray ended up doing the latter. I think this is a guy that you build around going forward, and you use that top draft pick to, fill one of the 50,000 holes in this roster that you still need to fill. I think Kyler Murray is a guy that you continue to build around. I don't think you roll the dice on one of these quarterbacks in the draft when you got Kyler Murray in the building, with Kyler Murray playing as well as he's played, and he's got things that you simply can't teach. He was a number 1 overall pick for a reason. I think he still shows that he was that number 1 overall pick type of talent. He is still an electric runner. If he can protect himself a little bit more like he has shown throughout the course of this year, if he can continue to improve, being accurate, better decision maker, continuing to have good habits off the field as far as studying and all of that, and being an encyclopedia of football knowledge, which you need to be as a quarterback. I think the Cardinals are going to be just fine with Kyler Murray going forward. I don't think they should trade him. I don't think they will trade him, quite frankly. I think they know what they have in him, and I think they're going to move forward with him. Could be totally wrong on that front, though. But 2-9 Cardinals, they stink. They're going to have great draft position, though. And that's, I think the franchise is moving in the right direction. If you're a Cardinals fan, you can take solace in that. Keep it moving from there. Buccaneers go into San Francisco and just get worked by the 49ers. They score a touchdown late to keep it closer than it really was. But 27-14, Brock Purdy was back on his bullshit in this game. It's amazing what a difference that Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel make to the quality of this offense. 333 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I believe he was over 10 yards per attempt as well. Yeah, 13.3 yards per attempt, 21 of 25 passing. He lit up the Buccaneers defense in this game. Brandon Ayuk got 156 yards receiving. It was a bloodbath. The San Francisco 49ers are back in juggernaut mode, in buzzsaw mode, and I think that, again, I am not wavering off my pick that they will represent the NFC in the Super Bowl when it's all said and done. The Eagles can, they got that flashy 9-1 record. They've got all that exciting games that they can work off of. San Francisco 49ers, outside of that 3-game losing streak, have done nothing but annihilate teams all season. So I've got all the faith in the world in the San Francisco 49ers going forward. I think if Brock Purdy, he has just enough shit to him where I feel like he can give you something that obviously a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't. He'll take those risks that Jimmy Garoppolo simply wouldn't. He'll take some risks that, he will not take some risks that Jimmy Garoppolo did ill-advisedly, did himself whenever he was the San Francisco 49ers quarterback. He's more mobile, a better running threat. Brock Purdy, he's not really... He's not the top 5 quarterback that people were probably hyping him up to be early on in the season, but he's at his best. He is like a top 10 fringe, high teens sort of quarterback, like maybe 11 or 12, or at the bottom of the top 10. Anywhere from like 9 to 12, you could see Brock Purdy whenever he is at his best. And with the pass rush that the San Francisco 49ers have on the other side of the ball, that is all you need him to be. You need him to be a little bit above average. If you're a little bit above average, you're going to be in damn good shape. Did not come out of this game unscathed, though. Yes, the defense did play well. They did lose Talanoa Hufanga for the season, though. Starting safety, a guy that just flies around all around the field. Tried to break down for a tackle, tore his ACL. He'll be done for the rest of the year for the San Francisco 49ers. And we're going to have to wait and see what kind of impact that has on the San Francisco 49ers, because that puts even more pressure on that front seven to get to the quarterback quickly, because that secondary was already struggling for the San Francisco 49ers. You could see the losses in free agency over the last couple of years accumulating on the back end for the San Francisco 49ers. There were holes in that secondary. There's a reason why they went out and got Chase Young at the trade deadline, and it's because of that secondary struggling the way that they had been struggling. I'm interested to see if they've reached a tipping point on that back end, where maybe they get a few more gash for a few more big plays that they might not have had if Talanoa Hufanga was in the game. Again, though, this is just a big old flashing red sign for the front seven for the San Francisco 49ers to step up in a big way. And they need to going forward if the San Francisco 49ers are going to continue this pace, which I have all the faith in the world for them to do. I mean, when you got Nick Bosa, Chase Young, Javon Hargrave, and just weapons upon weapons behind them, just depth for days. You got the best linebacking pair in the entire league in Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. I got all the faith in the world in you to figure that thing out when it's all said and done. So, going to be interesting to see how they work around not having Talanoa Hufanga anymore. That's going to be a big loss for them. Tampa Bay kind of stinks. What they started the season 3-0 or 3-1 rather. They have now lost, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of their last 6 games. Their only win coming against the lowly, abysmal Tennessee Titans, who they worked, by the way, 20-16. They beat the life out of them, which tells you all you need to know about the Tennessee Titans. But yeah, we're seeing a little bit more of what I saw in the preseason from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Defense is okay. Offense is just not good enough with Baker Mayfield and their bereft of talent on the offensive line. Poor Mike Evans. I said it last week. I'll say it again here. Get him on a contender, man. He deserves better than this. He already got his Super Bowl, so I don't feel too bad for him, but get that man on a contending football team. He doesn't deserve to be languishing in irrelevance when he's still one of the best receivers in the entire game right now. Not quite on that level of a Devontae Adams, a Justin Jefferson, a Tyreek Hill for that matter, but right in that tier behind him, Mike Evans is still very, very good. Still probably going to get a 1,000-yard season with just bad quarterback play. Baker Mayfield, he's Baker Mayfield. We all know what he is. But yeah, I don't have a whole much more to say about that other than, I mean, it's not going to get a whole lot easier for him on defense either. I think Jamel Dean, they're going to lose for at least a week or two. It's not as bad as it appeared initially. I think they were expecting him to miss a little bit more time, but after tests, I think he's kind of week to week. Probably won't play this week. And against a team like the Colts, who have really had a explosive offense this year, not a great time for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their playoff hopes are slipping away right before their very eyes right now. And someone's got to win that NFC South. I don't think it's going to be Tampa Bay, though. It's going to be either Atlanta or New Orleans, kind of how we all expected coming into the season. We move on from there, though. We'll spend a little bit of time on this one, too, because some news came out afterwards. But the game itself, I mean, the Bills just beat the piss out of the Jets, 32-6. In the beginning of the Joe Brady era as the offensive coordinator. Not a bad start. James Cook ended up with a little bit over 4 yards a carry, I think close to 5 yards a carry. Khalil Shakir got an 85-yard touchdown, ended up with 115 yards on 3 catches and a touchdown. Josh Allen threw for 275, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, which that 1 interception was on a Hail Mary. You don't really count that 1 interception. Josh Allen played damn near flawlessly. And against the defense for the Jets that, I mean, they're one of the best in the league still. It's just, I've seen this before with the Minnesota Vikings in the year that they traded for Sam Bradford. And they started 5-0. I've told the story before, and if you remember NFL history to a certain extent, you probably remember this too. They started that season 5-0, had one of the best defenses in the entire league. Everyone was firing on all cylinders. And then after a certain point, the defense just fully felt the weight of not having a quarterback worth a damn on the other side, not having an offense worth a damn on the other side, and they went 3-8 down the stretch and missed the playoffs. And the defense kind of crumbled from there. That's where the Jets are at right now. They give up 32 to the Bills, who they kind of dominated in Week 1 on defense. Did not turn out to be that way this time. Zach Wilson was. I mean, I put out a tweet about this during the game. I marvel every week that he's forced to be on my TV just how god-awful Zach Wilson is at quarterback. And it finally reached a tipping point. Replaced by Tim Boyle in the fourth quarter, which you could pass off as just, being benched because they weren't going to come back in that game. Ultimately, though, Robert Saleh comes back in the post-game press conference, says, I don't know who we're going to start at quarterback the next week, which pretty much all you needed to hear because the inevitable happened after that. Tim Boyle will be starting for the New York Jets in this upcoming game against, I actually don't really know who they play this upcoming week, but either way, Tim Boyle is starting. Zach Wilson will actually be the third string behind Trevor Siemian. The Zach Wilson era in New York is done. It's no matter what they say at this point, no matter what kind of optimistic words that Robert Saleh is spitting out there, or Aaron Rodgers and anyone, they're good teammates. They'll stick behind their guy. They're not going to throw him under the bus at this point. But we all know what it is. We all have working eyes. It's simply just the era is over. It was already pretty much over coming into this season. And you know what? Maybe this is for the best, to where, they see Zach Wilson, they get a reminder of just how god-awful he is at playing quarterback, and they're like, okay, maybe we go in a little bit different direction going forward. Consult with Aaron Rodgers first, obviously, because the last time it didn't really work out too well when the team did this, but maybe draft a quarterback this year. Couldn't hurt. I mean, you're probably going to have Aaron Rodgers for at least one more year, maybe two. Wouldn't be the worst idea to, take a guy up high, which, I mean, I don't know. If you're up, if the Jets keep losing, if they don't win a game through the rest of the season, they end up with a top 5 pick, probably a better investment to go with a guy like Olu Fashanu, stud offensive tackle out of Penn State. A guy that would really step in and help the Jets, especially with the health concerns for Mekhi Becton. You got just an ancient offensive line all around. I mean, you're going to get Elijah Vera Tucker back next season, which that'll help. That'll help big time for you. But you need help on that offensive line. If you don't decide to go with the offensive line, though, maybe you take a swing on a guy at the top of the draft that you don't expect to start for a year and change. A guy that can sit behind Aaron Rodgers and have Aaron Rodgers mold him into something that you saw from Patrick Mahomes, which Patrick Mahomes, probably a lot of that was intrinsic. A lot of that was, you could see it in college. I mean, there was a game against Oklahoma famously with Baker Mayfield at quarterback where he famously threw for like 800 yards in a game. So we knew it was there. We knew it was there, but sitting behind Alex Smith, his first year with Kansas City, I think you kind of saw, instilled a few good habits that I think in Alex Smith in tandem with Andy Reid really helped keep him on the rails when he did get in there the next season. Obviously, won the MVP, and the rest is history from there. Michael Jordan of football. What do I know on that front? But you'll come around to my side eventually. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. I digress on that front. But yeah, maybe the Jets take a swing at the top of the draft, bring in a guy like that. The Zach Wilson era is over, though. I don't know what they do with him after this season. I don't know if they just outright cut him or what the situation with the rookie contract is right now. But yeah, he's not going to be the quarterback going forward. You rest assured that will not be the case. But hey, Bills get a big-time win. They're entering a gauntlet stretch right now, an absolute gauntlet stretch. They got the Eagles, Chiefs on the road in back-to-back weeks, and they're hosting the Cowboys. They're at the Chargers. Got a little bit of a reprieve with the Patriots. Then you are right back at it at the Dolphins to end off the season. A gauntlet stretch, absolute gauntlet stretch. You're facing, by my count, at least 4 legitimate playoff teams. Chargers, talented enough to be a playoff team. So you're looking at like 5 of the next 6 games against really talented teams. This is going to tell the tale of their season right now. And I think with Josh Allen at the helm, the ceiling is the roof for this team. We already knew that. But I don't know. It's going to be a tough stretch for them. Interested to see, especially with all that they have lost on the defensive side of the ball, how they end up pulling through this. Eagles will be a big litmus test for that next week because that offense, they will not show mercy. Absolutely will not show mercy. I can assure you of that. Let's keep it moving, though. We got 3 games left to recap here. First and foremost, get the hell off my screen. Get away from here, you drop-down menu. The Seahawks go into LA and they just cough one right up at the end. Rams score 10 points, come back in the fourth quarter, get the win 17-16 over the Seahawks. Geno Smith exited this game at one point with what I believe they're calling a triceps bruise, then came back later in the game when, it was clear that Drew Lock stinks and, tried to bring him back. Ultimately could not, though. Rams get the win 17-16. 4-6, the Rams. Another team that I thought was just dead in the water that, they got some stuff to do here late in the season, but, hey, still could conceivably make a playoff game. I mean, before this game, they lost 4 of their last 5, but, I mean, hey, they're at the Cardinals. Got a backup quarterback-led Browns team, which that'll be an absolute rock fight of a game in all likelihood. Then, well, at the Ravens, then you got the Commanders, Saints, Giants, and Rams aren't making the playoffs. Who am I kidding right now? Rams aren't going to make the playoffs. Seahawks, though, good. I mean, they're still a solid team. They're a solid team. I mean, spoiler alert, I think I went over it on the Tuesday episode. Don't got them winning this game on Thanksgiving night against the 49ers, but hey, they could, maybe pull one out, tank my gambling record, why don't you? I mean, they're a 6-4 team. They're in a solid little position. They don't have to win as many games as the Rams to get into the NFC playoffs. And that 7 seed, that's a wide open 7 seed right there, man. A 9-8 could get you that 7 seed this year. So, I mean, hey, have faith. Have faith, kids. I think you're going to be right in line to, get a playoff berth. And, hell, if you got to go to the Lions in the opening round, it seems like the Lions are in line for that 2 seed right now. If you got to go to the Lions as the 7 seed, you already beat. Goodness gracious, the gas in my throat and in my gut is just, it's unrelenting. It's unrelenting right now. But back to my point, if you got to go to the Lions, you already beat them at one point this season. All you got to do is just get into another shootout, and you're right there, possibly getting a playoff win, pulling off an upset. It's not impossible. Not impossible for the Seahawks to still pull it together and make a good season out of this. They just, they got a gauntlet ahead. They still have to play the 49ers twice. Once starting on Thanksgiving, then they got one more down the stretch of this year. So good luck. Good luck, Seattle. Oh man. Well, Sunday night game. The Vikings went on the road to the Broncos, and I got a confession to make here, folks. Before this game, I had a feeling. I just had a good feeling, man. I just thought the Vikings were going to come out there and they were going to win. So I committed one of my cardinal sins, and I'm not proud of it, but I do have to admit when I do make these sins, because we're transparent on this show. We try to keep it a good two-way conversation. Get a little transparency in there. Never hurt anybody. But that's all to say. I have to admit, I bet the Vikings money line on this game, and didn't work out well for me, folks. Vikings go into Denver, and they lose 21-20. Cortland Sutton, that son of a bitch, just caught a fantastic catch at the end of the game. Just a big man over a small man getting a touchdown. I'm sad. I'm sad right now, man. I mean, Vikings are still 6-5. It is what it is there. It just, man, I feel bad on that one. I feel like I've let my team down when betting on them, man. I just, 1-1 all time betting on the Vikings, and it's just, it is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, we got to have a conversation about these fumbles, though, guys. I mean, this time, Josh Dobbs, and by the way, for that narrative of people saying we need to keep Josh Dobbs and build around him, no. Come on now, guys. Let's not buy into the bid here too much. Josh Dobbs, good story. Awesome story coming in. I think he's a guy that can ultimately lead us to the playoffs. Maybe have us competitive in a game. Hey, maybe if we get lucky, he can win us a game. But guys, let's not fool ourselves here. That's not a franchise quarterback going forward. I maintain we gotta draft a guy. We gotta keep Kirk Cousins around for another season. Sign another manageable 1-year deal. Have him sit behind. Have the new quarterback or rookie quarterback sit behind Kirk Cousins, and then we move on from there. Let's not get carried away with the Josh Dobbs thing. But he lost a fumble in this game. Alexander Madison lost a fumble in this game. I will say, despite the 2 turnovers, that 1 turnover by Josh Dobbs, should have been and unnecessary roughness from Kareem Jackson. The league thought so too. I mean, Kareem Jackson, all the Denver Broncos players playing victim, like, oh, what is the defender supposed to do in this situation? I don't know. Maybe don't put your head straight down to the turf and then launch head first into the starting quarterback. Could help. Already got suspended for doing that early in the season. And then they're talking all this bullshit like, oh, what's the defender supposed to do? I don't know. Maybe look up when you're trying to make the fucking tackle, man. It's not 2005 anymore. You can't just lower your head and then just go helmet to helmet all willy-nilly with people. It's a different league now, folks. They're finding, left and right for shit that I don't even think is really penalties. This was a clear penalty. Didn't get called in the game, by the way. Just, led to a fumble by Josh Dobbs that was ultimately recovered by the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos get a field goal, and by the way, they win by 1 point, so very consequential field goal they ended up getting on that possession ensuing. I guess credit to the Denver Broncos. They're 5-5 now. They are absolutely alive in that AFC playoff hunt. Maybe the best coaching job that Sean Payton has ever had. Especially fooling people into thinking that Russell Wilson is a serviceable quarterback. That is the greatest heist that Sean Payton has done thus far. He has really schemed around the deficiencies of Russell Wilson's game to a flawless degree, quite frankly. He has shown Sean Payton this season that he is every bit as advertised. He is one of the greatest offensive play callers of all time. No two ways about it. Able to craft an offense to an absurd degree, and hats off to him for what he was able to do with Russell Wilson in this game, and really Russell Wilson so far this season. He has done an excellent job of scheming around those deficiencies. That being said, they got a lot of ground to cover going forward, so I don't know, is what it is. I'm sad. Vikings though, when I was kind of looking through the scoreboard through this past week and, looking into the Vikings schedule, I still think 11-6 is in the cards, man. And I can go through all the games going forward here and illustrate it. Bears should be a win. At Raiders should be a win as well. At the Bengals also should be a win. Versus the Lions, I think we split the series with the Lions. So we probably win the one at home, beat the Packers the next week at home, and then we go to the Lions in the last week of the season, probably lose that one. You add all those up, that's 11-6, folks. Still in the cards for the Minnesota Vikings. So I'm not totally dejected. I just I feel like an absolute clown. Not to the least degree because I could have just bet the spread on the Vikings. They were plus 2.5 coming into the game, and lo and behold, they lost by 1. So I would have won if I just bet the spread. I don't know though. If you're betting on your team and your team is not favored, the only honorable thing to do is bet the money line. You can't be having conflicted feelings about, oh yeah, my team lost, but I won on the spread. No. If you got any honor in your soul, you're betting the money line if your team is an underdog, and that's just the way it is, quite frankly. I don't want to wallow in that depression though. I got plenty of depression coming with the Egg Bowl coming up tomorrow. So pain is inbound. That's all I got to say about that. We got one more game to get to, and it was a doozy. I got to get a time check right now. Hour 17, Jesus Christ, I am bloviating like a son of a bitch right now. So we'll try to get through this fairly quickly. Best game of the week, though. Eagles versus the Chiefs. Sloppy game. It was rain coming down in Kansas City, too, so it was cold to go with that rain. Receivers dropping passes for the Chiefs. What else is new? Ultimately, though, Eagles come from behind out of the half. They were down 17-7 at the half. And all they do, they're just steady Eddie in the second half. They get 2 touchdowns, shut out the Chiefs, who, by the way, I believe they have the worst second half offense in the league right now. And when you have Patrick Mahomes, that is a stark indictment of the weapons that they have in the room there. Shut out the Chiefs in the second half. They outscore them 14-0. Eagles get the win 21-17. And honestly, this one should have been even more of an entertaining one down the stretch because with like a minute 50 left, MVS got an absolute just gift, a gift from the gods, and by the gods I mean Patrick Mahomes' arm, straight onto his hands, and he just dropped a surefire touchdown. It just dropped the go-ahead touchdown at the end of the game. Ultimately, though, I mean, it would have been Eagles with 3 timeouts with 1:50 left. I gotta believe Jalen Hurts, with the receivers that he has at his disposal, would have found a way to matriculate down the field and at least get a field goal, send this thing to overtime. But God damn it, the abject, terrible nature of the Chiefs receivers cost us an absolute classic in overtime. And I hold resentment against the Chiefs receivers for that, quite frankly. I hold a lot of resentment against the Chiefs receivers for that. But it brings up the issue that we've been talking about all year with the Chiefs, is that we have found the critical point, the critical low for the Chiefs receiving core that is just simply not tenable when you have Patrick Mahomes. You need at least one legitimate game-changing wide receiver out there if you are the Chiefs, outside of Travis Kelce. I mean, Travis Kelce, he's going to do what he's going to do. I think he ended up with like 7 receptions in this game as well. I mean, he's a consistent stud. I mean, there's a reason he's a Hall of Famer. 7 receptions. I mean, not a whole lot of yardage, 7 receptions for 44 yards, but did get a touchdown. Also had a critical fumble in the red zone. Can't be looked over as well. And I mean, it's not like Patrick Mahomes came out smelling like roses in this game as well. But I mean, 4.1 yards per attempt when it was all said and done. 2 touchdowns, but that 1 interception he had was just a terrible throw in the red zone, in the end zone, in fact, straight to Kevin Byard, and he can't be totally absolved of that either. I think there's some blame to go around there for Patrick Mahomes as well, but by God, I mean, Justin Watson dropped some passes. MVS obviously dropped the most notable pass. I mean, he had passes being dropped all night, and the Chiefs lead the league by a mile in drop passes right now. I don't know how the Kansas City Chiefs go on from here. I don't know how they improve this receiving core. Frankly, can't in the season at this point. I mean, there's no the trade deadline has passed. You can't make a trade anymore, so there's no good way for them to improve the receiving core this season. And I do think with that defense, they're still my favorite in the AFC to come out and go to the Super Bowl. But this is not a tenable position for the Chiefs to continue being in. They need to get a game-changing wide receiver in that building. I think you can keep the defense consistent for the next couple of years. I think with Chris Jones in the middle over there, with Willie Gay, Nick Bolton's going to come back at some point. I don't know if that's a season-ending injury he's got. He'll come back at some point, whether it's later this year or next year. And, the secondary is what it is over there. Steve Spagnuolo seems to have really dialed it in as the defensive coordinator for the Chiefs. I mean, the defense is going to be what it is, I feel like, going forward, especially with a young guy like Trent McDuffie in there playing out of his mind at corner as well. I think this is worth investment in the first round. First round, second round, hell, maybe even go with the third round. Get a weapon in there. And in addition to getting a weapon, get another offensive tackle. I mean, you paid Jawan Taylor. That's going to be, it is what it is there. You paid him a bunch of money. He's going to be your right tackle going forward. But you need to draft a quality left tackle in this draft, I think. Either bring one in free agency, pay out the ass for one, which, not a bad idea in its own right, or draft one in the draft coming up. But you gotta improve the outside of that offensive line, because the tackles are not up to snuff. The tackles and the receivers just not up to snuff for the Kansas City Chiefs right now. But I still think they're the best team in the AFC, quite frankly. When you got Patrick Mahomes, you got Travis Kelce, and you got that defense with the greatest quarterback of all time on the other side, you've always got a chance. You have always got a chance in every game. And for my money, they're still the Super Bowl favorites to come out of the AFC at the very least. I still think the 49ers are a better team overall, but we'll cross that bridge when we inevitably come to it, because I know I'm right. I know I'm right. Now, I won't concede that I'm wrong until the 49ers prove me otherwise. So I digress on that front. Put a pin in that. Philadelphia Eagles on the other side. Not a pretty one. Not a pretty one by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, you kind of relied on a couple big plays in the running game. I mean, DeAndre Swift broke off a 35-yard run in this game. Jalen Hurts ended up getting you two push touchdowns in this one as well. Not a great passing day. I mean, you can blame it on the rain or whatnot, but I mean, 0 touchdowns passing, 1 interception. Devontae Smith, led the receiving by a mile. Only 150 passing yards for Jalen Hurts. 99 of them went to Devontae Smith, and then DeAndre Swift was your second leading receiver. So that should tell you just about all you need to know. A.J. Brown was 1 catch, 8 yards. Basically a no-show there as well. I do think it is encouraging, though, that they played such a bad game offensively, but they were opportunistic enough defensively, and they were able to kind of corral the Chiefs defensively in the passing game to a point where, you hold the greatest quarterback I've ever seen to 4.1 yards per attempt, force a couple key turnovers. I think winning a game like this it's a damn good testament to what the Eagles are. I think, again, it seems like we were rearing up for a rematch between the 49ers and the Eagles, whether it be in the divisional round or be in the NFC Championship. It feels like it's going to happen here at some point. I think, to me, they're the clear 2 best teams in the NFC still to this very day. So, yeah, I'm not sure we learned anything about the Philadelphia Eagles or the Kansas City Chiefs for that matter, but I think we, kind of solidified in my thought that it's just a really, really good Eagles team, and I think they're going to be right there either in the NFC Championship. They're really, if they beat the 49ers at any point in the playoffs, shoo them in for the Super Bowl, quite frankly. I don't think there's anyone else in the NFC that can really get there. But with that is all for Week 11. Let's look at Week 12, shall we? I got 2 more bets to add throughout the course of this one. I just got to pull it up to remember what I did. I know first and foremost, I did end up pulling the trigger on Michigan, Ohio State under 46. Like I said in the previous episode, that game's got 20-13 written all over it. That just feels like it's going to be a rock fight from start to finish. 2 of the best defenses in the country and 2 offenses with ample holes on either side there. So I just feel like that's going to be a defensive dominated game. 46 entirely too many points, so I'm taking the under on that one. We don't have to wait long for my other pick. I only added 2 more because we had 5 on Tuesday night. So adding 2 more to get a nice round 7 there. Right off the bat, to kick off Thursday of Thanksgiving, you're going to be having all this food in your belly. And while you got that, why don't you go ahead and bet Packers-Lions over 47. Already went over the defensive struggles for the Lions. Packers are really kicking it into gear offensively. Not encouraging that Aaron Jones won't be out there, but the Packers have really picked it up. Jordan Love has really picked it up in the passing game. It's a suspect secondary for the Detroit Lions as well. Whew, itchy eye there, itchy eye. So I just feel like, the Lions are going to score their points, and the Packers are going to let the Lions score their points. There's a reason this line is 7.5 right now. That hook scares me. Otherwise, I would take the Lions in this game. But the over at 47 points, I just feel like both of these teams are going to score an ample amount of points and get this thing over 47. So that is that is one bet that I've got. I should really pull up the lines though. I need to get over to the old Action Network, take a look at what we've got over here. All markets. Yup. Yeah, and you could still get the. I think you're actually looking at a 40. You can get a 46.5 if you're willing to spend some juice over at FanDuel. Otherwise, it's 40. It's moved to 47.5 in most other places. You can still get a 47 at BetMGM though if you're still in the market for that 47. That's where I'm riding though. We keep it moving. Second game on the Thanksgiving slate: the Commies versus the Cowboys. Maybe it's not a game that I'm going to make an official pick, but the line is now moved to 13.5 everywhere except for FanDuel, and I still think the Cowboys cover. I think the Cowboys are going to splatter the Commanders in this game. I feel fairly confident because we know who the Cowboys are. They destroy bad teams, and they sometimes have some struggles against good teams. Just wait and see until the playoffs. That's holding pattern for the last several years pretty much. I just think the Cowboys are going to beat the living shit out of the Commanders in this game. So, yep, I'm liking the minus 12.5 if you can still get it there. Not sure if that line has updated for FanDuel yet, though, so take that with a grain of salt. Minus 13.5 everywhere else, and I still like that number. I think the Cowboys win by 2 touchdowns, so no worries there. Over under is at 48.5 in most places. You get a 49 at DraftKings if you're looking to bet the under. And I would probably lean the under. I don't think the Commanders are going to score a whole lot against the Cowboys, because it's not just that the Cowboys offense is going to run all over or hit a bunch of big passes against that Commanders defense. It's that the offensive line for the Commanders is atrocious, and the Cowboys are trotting out a high-octane pass rush. It is just not a good formula for the Commanders. I don't think they have much of a chance to win this one, but it is the NFL. Shit happens like this every single week. Already went over. You can still get a -7 on the San Francisco 49ers. Can't remember if I got a -6 or a -7 on them. Yeah, -7. Still holding strong for the San Francisco 49ers pretty much across the board, and I love that bet. I think the 49ers are going to win fairly handily and fairly comfortably, I think by double digits in this game, so feeling good about that, especially forgot to mention, Kenneth Walker is out for this game too. He injured his ankle, and without him in there, I just feel like the 49ers are going to dominate this game. I truly do. Over-under is 44 in most places. You can get a 43.5 if you're looking to bet the over. That's at FanDuel right now. But yeah, I don't have a great lean either way. I could see the 49ers just absolutely throttling the Seahawks. So for the sake of the pick segment, I guess I would lean the over. I don't feel great about that, though. I think that's a pretty good, goodness gracious. I think that's a pretty good number there with the 44. So, yeah, keep moving from there. Dolphins, -9.5. Pretty much across the board. You can get a +10 at DraftKings if you're looking to bet on the Jets for whatever reason. This feels like another blowout coming. I feel like the Dolphins might handle this one. And that's a hook in a juicy direction for the Dolphins there. If you get a double-digit win, you get a cover in this one. Not one I'm going to add to the bet slip, quite frankly, but one I'm probably going to bet with my own hard-earned money on. I feel pretty good that the Dolphins are going to win this game. So take that for what it is. Not going to add it to my bet slate, but not my official bet slate anyways. But I do feel pretty good about the Dolphins covering at -9.5. Over-under, you get a 40.5 at PointsBet if you're looking at the over, if you're an absolute sicko. 41 everywhere else, and I would lean the under. Tim Boyle's not good either, folks. The bottom line is they should have traded for like Andy Dalton or Jacoby Brissett or someone at the trade deadline. The Jets, they fumbled the bag. What more can you say? They fumbled the bag by not bringing in someone worth a damn to quarterback the team. So yeah, I would even lean the under even at 41. I just don't think the Jets are going to score enough points in this game. And I think at some point the Dolphins probably let off the gas whenever they're up by 20 points or whatever they end up being. So yeah, I probably still lean the under on that one. Patriots are -3.5 at the Giants. I like the Patriots here. I'll be dead before I bet money on this Patriots team. They're just not a very good football team, but you got 3.5 across the board. Tommy DeVito feeling all good about himself. Let us not forget, Bill Belichick eats rookie quarterbacks for lunch. And I thought, is Tommy DeVito a rookie quarterback? I think he is a rookie quarterback. So, yeah, I feel pretty good that, the over-under is a disgusting 34.5. Get a kind of range between 34.5 and 33.5, depending on where you go. Just go ahead and shop around on that line. This is going to be a disgusting game. I just feel like the Patriots end up coming out with a win on that one. Buccaneers at the Colts. Colts are favored by 2.5 pretty much across the board. And I like the Colts. I like the Colts at 2.5. I think they win this one. Maybe not super comfortably, but I think they do win this one. I like the over. I really do. I think you can get a 44 and you can get a 43.5 according to this. Again, I don't know how updated that number is for FanDuel. If it is still 43.5 at FanDuel, though, go right ahead. Not knock yourself out. I don't have a whole lot of faith in the Buccaneers to score, but I don't really have a whole lot of faith in the Colts to stop anyone from scoring either, quite frankly. Their best defensive performance was last time they played in Germany against just an abysmal New England Patriots offense. So who's to say? Who's to say, quite frankly? I like that over, though. Another one that I might bet with my own money, but not going to make it on the official bet in this one. Saints at the Falcons. You can get a good range of numbers in this one. It's a pick 'em at Rivers actually. Depending on where you go, it's either -1 or +1 in either direction on this one. It's pretty close. It's a pretty close game, and that kind of fits with the history of this one too. I have no great feel on who ends up winning this game. I just feel like back against the wall, Falcons and Arthur Smith are going to pull this one out, especially uncertainty at the quarterback position with Derek Carr still in the concussion protocol. We'll see. We'll see. I just feel like the Falcons come out and win this one. They find a way to get the win. Over under is 42 or 42 and a half. Lean the under, folks. These are two teams that like to run the piss out of the ball and have solid defenses. This has underwritten all over it. I could be wrong on that, but I have a feeling that that under is going to hit. Panthers at the Titans, rather. Excuse me. It's 3.5 in most places. Looks like you can get a 4 at FanDuel if you're looking to bet on the Panthers. I am not. Even with as bad as the Titans are, I think the Titans end up winning this game and they end up covering. The Panthers are so bad. They're so just ungodly terrible. It's an affront to humanity, an affront to football fans, specifically the good fans over in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm with you in spirit, not in presence, quite obviously, but I'm with you in spirit that you deserve better. Not going to happen this week, though. I feel like the Titans are going to cover that one. Over under, you get 36.5 in most places. You get 37, it looks like, at FanDuel right now. Action Network's a little bit slow in updating the FanDuel numbers, though, so do your own research, I suggest. I would still even lean the under at that 37. It's a low number. I'm not taking it myself, but these are two teams that are allergic to scoring, folks, and I don't see that changing in this one. I would, even with a low number like 37 or 36.5, depending on where you get it, I'd still lean the under. Already on the Steelers, we got them at -1, and that's still the best number out there right now. You can get a variety of numbers. Hell, if you're looking to bet on the Bengals, looks like PointsBet's got a 2.5 for you. So go right ahead if you are so inclined to do that. I wouldn't be. Over under is 35.5, and this is another one where I'd still probably lean the under. I don't know how much better the Steelers' offense is going to get, but I know the Bengals' offense is going to get significantly worse with Jake Browning at quarterback as opposed to Joe Burrow. So yeah, it's just that's going to be an ugly game. That's going to be an AFC North game to the very T. But yeah, we're on the Steelers. You know what it is. We're on the Steelers right now. All right, so next 1 o'clock game, Jaguars-Texans. Briefly alluded to it in the recap segment, but this is a pivotal game for the AFC South standings. I feel pretty good when saying I think the winner of this game ends up winning the AFC South. So big-time implications on this one. You can get 1.5 in most places if you're looking to bet on the Jaguars. If you are looking to bet on the Texans, though, get a +2 at PointsBet right now. They're the only ones that have it, it would appear. So everyone else is 1.5. You can get a +2 at PointsBet. I like the Texans in this one, man. I think the home field advantage really does them well. I think they're playing a little bit more consistent football than what the Jaguars are, too. I'm not betting this game, and I won't even do it like off the record either, just because, the Jaguars have been so herky-jerky up and down. You don't know what you're getting on any given week. They get blown off the field by the San Francisco 49ers, and then they just absolutely beat the life out of the Titans. Who the hell even knows what you're going to get with the Jacksonville Jaguars? So they can come out here and win this game by double digits for all I know, but I just feel like the Texans are an ascending team right now. They're not gonna push for a Super Bowl or anything like that, but I feel very good about them winning this game. Again, not good enough to bet on it, but I feel good about them winning this game. Over under is you can get a 48 at PointsBet, Caesars, and those are the two. Otherwise, you're looking at 48.5. I have no great feel on this over under. I think they got a pretty good number there at 48 or 48.5. I would probably lean the under a little bit, actually, just because I feel like both of these defenses are going to get turnovers. I got no logical explanation behind that, but I just got a feeling like turnovers are in the cards in this game. So, yeah, I feel like this is going to be a little bit lower scoring than what they are expecting. But, again, I feel like that number is dead on, though. I'm not messing with that at all. Rams at the Cardinals. It's actually it's a pick 'em over at Rivers right now, and that seems justified. I feel like the Cardinals with Kyler Murray at quarterback are a different team. They're a feistier team, quite frankly, and with the Rams being not that much better of a team, they got a couple positions where they're an upgrade over the Cardinals, but by and large, not that much better. And they're rightly favored in a lot of places by either 1 or 1.5. But yeah, I just feel like at this point, I do think the Rams win this game. I think it's going to be close. I think that it's a pick 'em for a reason in some of these places. So yeah, give me the Rams. Not betting that though. This is going to be a sad matchup in the 4:05 slot, early 4 o'clock slot, if you will. 44.5 across the board on the over under. I don't know, man. I think that's a pretty spot on line as well. I suppose I would lean the over. Two good quarterbacks matching up, two defenses that are average at best. Sure, whatever. Take the over at 44.5. Definitely not betting that though. Browns, Broncos. Broncos favored by 1.5 across the board on all the services you could want. I don't know. The Broncos are really playing well. I'll take the Broncos in this one, especially going up against a rookie backup quarterback with the Browns. I think 35.5 on the over under. I'd still lean the under, and you can actually get 36 in a lot of places. So definitely shop around on that. But yeah, I'd still lean the under there. I don't think either of these teams are going to score a lot of points. DTR with the Browns hasn't been fantastic, and the Broncos defense has really been playing better here recently. And the Browns have probably the best defense in the entire league at this point. So yeah, it's going to be a low-scoring affair. I just think the Broncos find a way to cover that 1.5. Again, won't be betting that, but if I had to lean, I'd lean towards the Broncos in that one. Chiefs at the Raiders. You can get a good range, anywhere between 8 and 9 on the spread. I'd probably lean the Chiefs, but that number scares me. I'm probably staying away from that. Over under, get a good range between 42 and 43. I'd probably lean. I think that's another dead on line as well. I'd probably lean the under, quite frankly, because that's just the type of football that the Raiders and the Chiefs play at this point. But I think it's a pretty dead on line. I'll probably stay away from that one. Bills at the Eagles. That should be the marquee matchup of the late afternoon time slots. It's -3 or 3.5, depending on where you get it. Get 3.5s at DraftKings, BetMGM, and those are the two with 3.5s right now in favor of the Eagles. So if you wanted to bet on the Bills, go to either of those that I just mentioned. I guess I would lean the Eagles. I don't have a great feel on this game. I think the Eagles kind of struggled last week, but then again, you're in a hostile road environment. Now you're coming home to the Link. I feel like the Eagles end up winning this one and they end up covering. 48.5 on the over-under pretty much across the board. Shit, give me the over. I feel like the Eagles are going to be able to score on this Bills defense, and Josh Allen can score on just about anybody. So yeah, give me the over on that one. May or may not bet that one. We'll see. Ravens at Chargers. Ravens favored by 3.5. And say it with me, folks. I will die before I bet money on the Chargers. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Ravens in this one. May or may not bet. It's a Sunday night game. Could be fun. Could be interesting. Chargers have a knack of keeping games within one score. So, hey, they're here for the people's entertainment, if nothing else. They don't win a whole lot of those games, but they're here for the people's entertainment here, folks. So yeah, I would probably take the Ravens at -3.5. Over under. Get a good mix between 47.5 and 48.5. Probably lean the over. Not one that I'm going to bet on, but probably lean the over at 47.5. And we got the game of the week here on Monday night, folks. A storied rivalry like no other. The Bears are at the Vikings. You can get a -3 on the Vikings at PointsBet. And they're the only ones dumb enough to set it at 3. Everyone else is at 3.5 right now. So obviously, your boys are riding with the Vikings. I'm not going to bet them on the spread, but I'm not going to repeat that same mistake 2 weeks in a row. But your boys on the Vikings. And as I say it though, 3.5 is a really thin line, isn't it? I might be back on my bullshit here, folks, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, the Vikings are a better football team. They're on their way to probably a playoff spot. You can't lose to the Bears here. You simply can't lose to the Bears. So yeah, I think they come out here. They get the win. Over under at 43 in most places. You get a 43.5 at FanDuel. It looks like everywhere else has moved to 43. I'd probably lean the over. Bears defense isn't that great, and I think Justin Fields is good to break one here and there and get some points on the board for the Bears. So I like that 43. Yeah, there you have it. There is your preview for the next week. Let me just quickly go over the bets that we are on once again. We are on Kansas -6. I believe that line has already moved to like 7, so you got to get on that early. At Cincy, Texas A&M LSU over 66.5. Louisville -7 versus Kentucky. 49ers -7 at the Seahawks. Steelers -1 at the Bengals. Those are ones that we were already on coming into the day. The two that we added today, Michigan, Ohio State under 46, and Packers Lions over 47. And there you have it, folks. Thank you so much for tuning into Unqualified Analysis. That's it. That is it. We are done for this week. If you enjoyed, subscribe wherever you're listening to it. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music. Just, grow these numbers a little bit. Help share it. Why not? I mean, hey, help me get a few more listeners than I already have. I got like 3 damn listeners a week, and I can't stop itching my eyes. But neither here nor there. I just, help me out, folks. Just help me out. Do your boy a favor, and I would be much obliged. Yeah, begging and pleading done. If you want to contact me, contact the show. Shoot me a DM on Twitter at Caleb Verzak. Link will be down in the description. If you don't, email me unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com. Unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com. Also will be down in the description. And yeah, with that, thank you so much for tuning into Unqualified Analysis. As always, I've got no clue what I am talking about, but one thing I learned this week, and I got to erase that one so I don't repeat that one. We already know that Canada has more lakes than the rest of the world combined. Who doesn't already know that? And this is kind of a duh fact, but still kind of a fun one. The sun is approximately 13 billion times brighter than the next brightest star in our sky. That next brightest star being Sirius. So there you go. Little fun fact for your Thanksgiving get-togethers. With that though, I will see y'all on Tuesday. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy Thanksgiving. Fill yourself absolutely full to the brim with all the food that you can eat. Ready break. See y'all.